Well, thank you so much all for joining us again for the second of the Hard Talk series. Again, my name is Patrick Mack. As you've heard, I am the editor-in-chief of HotelsNewsNow. We are an online news resource that covers the global hotel industry, increasing our focus here in Latin America. So thank you so much for having me. We've got a great panel today, whereas yesterday's session focused on providing a view of the industry. Today we're going to dig into some of the challenges. And not just the challenges, but the ways some of these executives to my left are the strategies they're employing to work through them, to overcome them. So by the end of the 45-minute session, you hopefully will walk away with a better understanding of the hurdles facing you in your industries, and then also what you can do to overcome them. To begin, gentlemen, I'd like to start with just brief introductions. So Jorge, we'll begin with you. Please tell us who you are, and then what you are doing at your company, and then specifically, if there are a few regions of focus that have really grabbed your attention here.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I'm Jorge Giannatasio, Chief of Latin American Operation for Starwood Hotels and Resorts, and I've been in the region for the last 14 years. Come from a finance background. I was CFO of the Americas for Starwood Hotels before taking on to the role of Chief of Operations. Basically, the challenges or my areas of focus has been basically solidifying the development and the footprint expansion for Starwood Hotels. In the last 2 years, we have been making huge strides into that. I mean, signing record number of deals in the region with our 8 brands that are operating. And now we're introducing Tribute, which is our 10th brand globally, and will be probably the 9th brand operating in the region. And in terms of challenges, Patrick, I think that I will share that with my colleagues here to my left, is the volatility and the macroeconomic challenges that Latin America face, but I'm pretty sure we'll go in detail in a little much longer.
Yes, we'll dig into those. Laurent, how about you?
Good morning, everybody. Still good morning. My name is Laurent de Koesmaker. I'm the Chief Development Officer for Marriott International for the Caribbean Latin America region. I have the pleasure to work with a number of very experienced developers in the region, and we focus on growth and growing our brands, our hotel brands, in that region. Marriott, some of you may know, some of you not, so I'll just give you a little bit of background. Marriott is a publicly traded company. Although the Marriott family still have an important stake in the company. Bill Marriott is still our executive chairman, very active. We started in 1927, but our first hotel opened in 1957, so a lot of hotels, the Marriott brand's been, relatively speaking, for a number of years. Today we have 4,200 hotels worldwide, 700,000 rooms in 80-some locations, and 19 different brands. Specifically in the Caribbean, Latin America, we're at about 90, like many of my peers, about 90 to 100 hotels open. In terms of your second question of where are we focusing on, in terms of pipeline growth, we have in South America, we're focusing on, we have 22 hotels in the pipeline. Largely Brazil, which we're very proud to say, because it's quite a tough market. We may talk about that a little bit. But we've got some good momentum in Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Chile. So that's largely where we're focusing on in terms of development.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, Patrick.
Patrick Mendes, I'm the CEO of Accor Hotels for South America. Previously, I was in charge of the luxury, upscale, and mid-scale brands for the group in South America, and previously I was in charge of the sales and distribution at the global level in a HQ in Paris. We are here quite big, as you know, Accor Hotels, focusing in many brands. Today, just to give you a quick overview about what is our perimeter in South America, and I'm talking about South America, which means from Colombia to the south. We have 250 hotels in operation, so 250, about 200 in pipeline, construction, or in phase of openings within the next 3 to 4 years. Our plan is to achieve 500 hotels. And we have 70% of this portfolio in Brazil, and the rest between Colombia, Chile, Peru, and Argentina, even if we're opening a few openings of few hotels in the other countries like Bolivia, Paraguay. So a massive development. We are still in a big rhythm, opening one hotel every 2 days in South America. So it's a big, it's a high rhythm of openings. And we are facing some challenges. I think we're going to discuss about that later, but about the macroeconomic challenges is a challenge for us also. Even if we keep the same path of openings of one hotel every 2 days.
Very good. So, Laurent, I want to start with you. You mentioned the progress the company's been making in Brazil, and it's an accomplishment because the region is difficult to establish, a nice footprint. Talk about some of the challenges. What are some of the most difficult aspects to building a hotel in Brazil right now?
So there's a number of them. Basically, the majority or the most obvious is the lack of project financing, right? So there's no project financing in Brazil to be seen. Most of the capital, and I'm sure that the panel yesterday talked about condo hotels, is a local practice of how to raise capital. So lack of financing, number one. Expensive land, relatively expensive land to date. So this may be an opportunity now with the current situation, but expensive land, expensive construction. And in general, there's not many groups focusing on the hotels sector. And what I'm trying to say, although there's a lot of hotels in Brazil, because the motivation of a lot of the owners or the constructors more selling the units, there's a general, the hotel, let me say this right, the hotel business in our view is a little bit in its infancy. So that means not many consultants, not many third-party franchisees, so it's not as developed yet, but huge potential. I mean, you look at the size of the market and how well Accor and others have done. I mean, the potential once you're in there is significant.
With the economic climate in Brazil right now, are you finding it a little bit easier to establish sites that are a little bit less expensive? Like you mentioned the cost of land being an issue. Is that becoming less so with the economic climate the way it is?
It's only fairly recent, right? I mean,
Right.
the brand land price. We understand, yes, clearly it's having an impact on the price of land, and we'll see more opportunities. The savvy investors in the region and the savvy investors in Brazil who see the big picture, they're out there taking advantage of good maybe opportunities to buy assets, to buy land, and to build cheaper.
Okay, and so build cheaply. So the overall cost of construction is going down as well.
Sure. And then you have, of course, if it's an investor, an international investor from the U.S. will benefit, of course, from the devaluation of the reais. Right?
Very good. Okay.
Yeah, basically the recession or the damage to the Brazilian momentum is very recent to have a significant drop in prices yet. So things has not been flush out in its entirety yet. Okay. One way for us to overcome or to find the key to the Brazilian market is about the brand strength. Sheraton was the first 5-star hotel opening in Brazil. It's a household name in Brazil hospitality. And this is what we are banking in keeping our momentum in Brazil, and that's showing by opening 2 properties in a very short period of time in a very tough market as Brazil, and signing one last month in the Sheraton Santos.
Very good. So Patrick, speaking of Brazil, Accor historically is a group that has had a lot of success in that market. To what do you attribute that success? Is it certain business strategies? Is it good partnerships? What do you attribute your success to?
Well, I would say we started in '75, so most of our competitors started at the same time. I will say that there are several factors. The first one will be flexibility, which is something that we try to apply every day in Brazil, and you need flexibility. So you need to be, we were discussing with my colleagues about standards, about initially if you are too rigid, it's a bit difficult to enter the market. The second point was the the Condotel solution, which is a way of financing some hotels and accelerate the developments. And we use a lot, and we contribute in the late 80s in building this solution of Condotel in flat. Third one, we invest ourselves. So we did a lot of investments. The last one is a big one. We bought the group Posadas Group with the brands Caesar Park and Caesar Business, where we did invest $275 million to buy this group. So it's asset decision. We decided in Brazil to buy and to invest with our own money. So if you sum that, plus, of course, I will say all our people, our talents, we're working with local players. I'm French. We have 10 expatriates in Brazil. We are 13,000. So it's give you an idea. So we are working with local. We are developing a lot of schools. We are helping the market to evolve in terms of hotel business, industry, hotel of business, academics. So all that helps to develop the few brands. And the last point I will say, the mix of brands. We decided to enter the market with luxury and upscale with a Sofitel brand and Pullman. After we enter with Novotel and with Mercury, where we bought and we built some hotels. And at the end, we develop a lot of IBs on secondary cities. So we can immediately duplicate these IBs in an easy way in secondary destination. So we have a lot of IBs opening in small cities, which are cities with 500,000 inhabitants, in small cities.
Right, so what's interesting there is Accor is taking somewhat of a different strategy, whereas most major public companies are going the asset-light route in which they are shedding ownership off the balance sheets. Accor has a significant ownership arm. Gentlemen, for you two, what is the willingness of your company to invest capital into projects? And I'm sure across the board, yes, the right situation, you would do so, but what percentage of deals or opportunities that actually come up are you investing in this part of the world?
So let me start maybe globally. Marriott International were probably one of the first ones to embrace the asset-light model, right? In 1992, when we spun off Host Marriott from Marriott International. Nothing has changed from a long-term strategy perspective, but many of you will know that we've been very active in using our balance sheet in the last couple of years. So under Arne Sorensen, our new CEO, we've done so a couple of examples. When launching new brands, and this morning we talked briefly about Ian Schrager. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here, and he had some great words for us. But the Edition brand was launched by us. We built the first couple of hotels, and we spent over almost $1 billion in order to create that brand. That's very unusual for us to do, and it's clearly not an asset-light strategy. So, but it was felt that it was important to use your capital if you really want to launch the brand and make sure those first hotels are on strategy. We subsequently recycled the capital. We sold all 3 hotels and basically ended up with long-term management agreements. It was risky. It was the right thing to do, and we're very happy we did. In parallel, we're acquiring groups and we're acquiring brands in different regions of the world. We wanted to get into Africa, and we decided to purchase Protea, which is a local chain. And the intent was not to grow that chain outside. It was basically to have local distribution. That was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. Earlier this year, we acquired Delta Hotels in Canada, about 100 hotels, just under 100 hotels, in order to penetrate that market. So you'll see Marriott using their capital in order to either create new brands or penetrate markets regionally. So, but your question was about Latin America, right? What are we doing here? There's not that much distribution in order to acquire a chain, but our strategy, learning from the experts at Accor, is to be more flexible. And Brazil, we had 4 hotels open a couple of years ago. We have 6 today, and we have 11 in the pipeline. It looks very small compared to the big guys, but it's significant. And the way we've managed to do that is we've used our capital. So we're using our capital to build 3 hotels in Brazil, and then we are selectively using the condo hotel model, which 4 or 5 years ago was a no-no. So we're looking at basically becoming more local, mitigating the risk as much as we can, being a publicly traded company, but understanding how business is done locally.
Yeah, we believe that At Starwood, we believe that asset-light strategy is the way to go in terms of maximizing the return for our shareholders, right? It doesn't mean that we are not investing in development. By the contrary, we do believe that investing in revenue management system, investing in the strength of our brands, investing in the training of our people, and selectively on sliver equity, key money, operating guarantees, or any other way of using our balance sheet to generate growth is what's better for our owners, for our customers, and for our guests.
All right, I want to turn the conversation to something we were just chatting about in the other room. It's the issue of ground-up development. And we were talking where in certain regions or certain cities here, finding a good site is only half the battle, because as you begin construction, you may find an obstacle that literally pops out of the ground. If you are digging and you find something of historical significance, that can delay a project back. So when you look at development opportunities, are you baking into your underwriting or your long-term view that there could be a delay in here? And how do you deal with delays like that?
We were talking about Cusco specifically, right? I mean, building in Cusco, for the Peruvians in the room, it's not a secret that it's very challenging because of the heritage and the archaeological importance of the site. Happens the same in Cancun or in other parts of Mexico. But this is a little bit anecdotal in terms of what happens as the big picture of development in the region. I think that there's a lot of opportunities to growth in many places, including those of historical importance. And in those cases, sometimes you focus more, instead of new construction, on adaptive reuse or conversions of existing hotels, because in those places, usually, there's a very good collection of historical buildings that can be a landmark for us, and putting a flag is of importance in our development.
The route of conversions, there's another opportunity. Finding a good site is one thing, but oftentimes you have to inject capital to bring a project up to speed, to make sure that fire, health, safety are all still there. We've talked a bit about flexibility. Will you extend flexibility to issues like that, or are you still maintaining the same level of international standards on certain issues like those?
Question for me?
Sure.
I think flexibility in two senses. 4 or 5 years ago, we would probably, maybe more, maybe 8 years ago, when we're looking at a courtyard in this region, we'd probably just take the US courtyard prototype and export it. That's now history. As many of our colleagues have done, we've analyzed the market, looked at the competitive landscape, and adapted the product to the needs of the customer, but also to the needs of the investor. So if in Brazil land is very expensive, we're going to have to find something that works for the ultimate investor. I mean, those are the ones that keep us alive in the future. So we've really adapted. Courtyard was probably 30 square meters or slightly larger, and there's markets we're looking at 24, 26 square meters. That's just a room. I mean, the whole envelope has been adapted. The cost of operating it, the air conditioning, I mean, all that is important in adapting to the market and make it a viable product. And particularly in this current economic cycle that we're in, it's important that we make sure that we localize our product. You talked about fire life safety. Fire life safety is something that we're not, with the same mentality, we're no longer exporting our US model externally. We're taking a serious look at local code, understanding what the gaps are with local code, and each country is different, and seeing what we need to add, if any, to satisfy the international standards, that taking good care of our customers. But from that perspective, it's a significant change. And Marriott, we're known to be the inflexible, this is how you do it, take it or leave it. That's significantly changed under our new CEO.
Very good. All right, Patrick, turning the conversation to you. The old route to expansion in untapped regions of the world, whether it's here, Europe, abroad, anywhere really, was a company would go into a key gateway market with a flagship brand to establish the presence. Once establishing the presence in that market, they would then begin to introduce some of their other brands and begin to expand into secondary cities. Is that still the best route for expansion in Latin America? Or do you find opportunities where, with an emerging middle class, it's now easier to go into some secondary markets without the marquee flagship in a gateway?
Yeah, it's a good point. We did both. We did both, and we adapt to each country because you can't have an answer for Latin America. I think you have an answer for Brazil, you have an answer for Peru, a different answer for Argentina. But what I can say, yes, we started in certain countries, like Colombia, for example, with IBIS, for example, in secondary destination. One first in Bogota, two in Bogota, and after we go in secondary destination. So for an IBIS model, which is an economy brand, IBIS budget, IBIS or IBIS styles, we definitely can enter through this emerging class which need to have an hotel, and we go in secondary destinations. We do the same now in Brazil for the IBIS. So we are opening in cities, as I told you earlier, where I didn't even know the name. I think yesterday we had a panel about development in Brazil, but they are booming. We open the hotel. This is the first, let's say, proper hotel with a good shower, with a good bed, with a good breakfast. So it's on the first months, 2 months, achieving 75 to 80% occupancy. So we consider that we can do that in most of the countries in South America. On top of that, to enter with luxury brands or with mid-scale brands, we need to have a landmark. We need to have a real good location, and that's why we are much more selective, much more than before, because now we have a notoriety, we have an awareness, we are well known in the market, so investors are confident and they can give us a brand. Perhaps when at the beginning they will follow a Marriott or a Starwood Hotel or whatever, it's easier for us now to implement an Accor Hotel brand, a Sofitel, a Novotel, because we have gained credibility in the market. And the last point, which is key, is distribution. I think we're going to have a topic about distribution. But our investors, our franchisees, they are looking at one thing, which is the bottom line. And if you are able to prove that you can bring 60, 70% occupancy, plus a loyalty program which is efficient on a domestic way, because Brazil, South America, it's a domestic market. 85% of our clients are Hispanic or Brazilian. So if you can prove that, it is also the development.
Go ahead, Jorge.
Say is that 50% of our pipeline is select serve, correct? So it's and this is the way that we are expanding in many secondary markets. So we can go with our select serve offerings, a loft or 4 points, directly to secondary markets, or also basically complement our full serve offer in key destinations. So with a raise and increase in wealth in the region, which is something that, despite the volatility we are seeing these days, is happening, and people is traveling more, and especially with more millennials in the mix, they basically use more products that are catered to them, and we believe that a loft, for example, in our case, proved to be a very good brand for millennials, and the design and the technology that is included in the brand offering basically is very appealing for them. And opening Montevideo and Asunción in the next couple of months are going to keep us on the momentum of building this brand in the region.
The discussion of millennials is a recurring theme, no matter what conference you're at. And I'm starting to hear a lot more. It's not just the millennial age bracket, but it's the millennial mindset that my father himself could be a millennial with his proclivity for the iPhone and certain styles of travel. So what are each of you gentlemen doing to appeal to that mindset? Obviously, you have new brands specifically designed to cater to that type of traveler. But what about at your existing properties that weren't necessarily conceived to appeal to a millennial? How are you adjusting? Laurent.
I think it's a great question, and you're right. The millennials, there's a lot of focus in Marriott in terms of engaging with this new customer, and a lot of research has been done, who want a different experience, who want to engage with us differently. Our strategy is twofold, as you said, new brands, and the product that's designed to what they're looking for. So we brought the AC by Marriott brand that was a European brand. We brought it to the U.S. about 2 years ago. It was a big hit, and I think we have 60 hotels in the pipeline in the Americas at the moment. So it's significant. It's been very well received. That's in terms of development, but in terms of product and service, it's very much focused on the millennium customer. Another one is, many of you will not have heard, it's called Moxie. It's a European brand. We did that as a joint venture with InterIKEA. And managed to bring down the room size to 17 square meters, which was clearly one of the benefits in terms of the economic model. That's very focused on the millennium traveler, and not just the room size, but making it exciting, having public areas that engage and that excite this millennium. So that's one. Your question is, what do you do with the older hotels? Well, Marriott has, as I said, we had our first hotel 57. So a lot of these hotels in the U.S., some of them are becoming 50, 60 years old, right? So we've gone through a number of cycles of where we've refurbished them and kept them up to speed. But there's a big effort right now going on at headquarters of a lot of these older hotels. How do we reinvest in them with our owning partners? The plan is by 2017 to have over 50 hotels converted in the U.S. So there's a big initiative going on. And that's updating, but not just updating and adapting them to this millennium traveler, how they like to travel, what they use in the rooms, what they want to see in the public area. So a lot of focus.
When you're in the process of doing that, is there any concern that you, while embracing a certain group of travelers, are turning off the baby boomers who may not have the affinity for some of the technological flourishes?
Well, I mean, in our case, we were the first one in launching keyless solution, which basically is a solution that not only skip the front desk in the check-in process, but also opens the door with your iPhone, Apple Watch, or Android device. As you know, millennials will outspend baby boomers in 2 years from now, right? I mean, they are part of our workforce as part of our main customer base. So what we are defining for millennials are basically them spreading through our brands. Now you can have keyless solution for our SPG customer base in every W, in every loft, and in every element in the world. And we do not believe that we are basically alienating other group of customers because these things are optional.
Yes.
So if
you're not forcing it.
You are not forcing it. You are giving them an option. And the millennials basically choose to speak to you and interact with you as a brand through the device. So start with making significant investments in social media teams and contacting our guests and engaging in conversation, not pre and post stay, but also during a stay through our social media channels.
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of the millennial mindset, it's not just what they're doing on property, but it's how they book, how they search for hotels. Now, Patrick, Accor has been doing some very interesting things on the distribution front. You spoke earlier about the importance of filling hotel rooms. Recently, the company has opened up their distribution engine to independent hotels that aren't otherwise affiliated with Accor. Can you give us an update of how that program is going and what's the feedback thus far?
Yeah, before that, if I may, just to add on the point before, because I think it's important, on the millennial, on the attractiveness of our industry. I think our industry is still considered as an old industry, not innovative enough. And we are trying, all of us, to face that. And I think it's, in our part, we're working on 3 parts: design, attitude, and technology. On design, I'll give you one example which is interesting. The Cesar Park Buenos Aires, which is now M. Gallery Buenos Aires, instead of doing a normal bid for the renovation, we went to a school with students and we asked them to do the renovation of the hotel. So we did a bid, and we asked 22, 23 years old architects to design the renovation of the hotels. So you have a totally different hotels. EB Styles, which is a new brand, each time we do an EB Style, we do a bid with young architect, local architect, to make sure that we are applying to the new codes of these guys, and which is quite disruptive, and it's very different. On attitude, which is the second aspect, we have for EB Style something called Happy Mood Maker. Happy Mood Maker. So we try to change the way we treat our client, we talk to our clients. So this is also something which is quite important. And I won't elaborate on technology, you already discussed that. Answering to your question about distribution, yes, we did a big announcement 2 months ago, which has an impact in the market. We decided to do two things. First, we invested roughly $250 million in a digital plan. So we launched a digital plan with 8 pillars that has been explained yesterday briefly. So I won't elaborate. And in this digital plan, we bought a company called Fast Booking. And so this was the first step. The second step, we decided to merge all our applicatives, or AccorHotel.com, Ibis.com, Novotel.com, Sofitel.com, in one big app on the smartphone. So on your smartphone now you can download one big app with all the brands, all the facilities, and all the development of new technology that we are developing there. And we decided, which is the third step, to open this app to independent hotels, which means that an hotel from the corner would have the possibility to enter our distribution platform, to be bookable through AccorHotels.com, to give points to our loyalty programs, through leclub@accorhotel.com. For that, the hotel will have to pass a selection process. It has to have a 4 or 5 star minimum in TripAdvisor. So we are looking at the client surveys, 4 or 5, and it will have a visit, an annual visit from an Accor person to check if the hotel is in condition. If these conditions are okay, it will have the possibility to enter the system.
If I'm let's say I'm a franchisee of Accor, or I'm affiliated with a network, and the independent hotel down the street taps into your booking engine, should I be concerned that they are potentially stealing or taking a booking that might have otherwise gone to me?
Yeah, we had to answer. We are still answering to these questions, which is a relevant question. Our main objective is to turn our supermarket a big store. When you offer more hotels, more solutions to your travelers don't need or doesn't need to go to another store. To be very simple, we have today 4,000 hotels in operation worldwide in all the brands. We did a survey and we defined that 300 cities represent 95% of the total spend in hotel business worldwide. These 300 cities represent roughly 100% of the spends. We want to have one hotel of Accor brands or one hotel of an independent hotels in each of the cities, a mid-scale, an economic, and the luxury hotels. When we have some, we don't need another. Where we don't have, we will have another. So, example, in Peru, we don't have any hotel in Arequipa. Tomorrow, we might have 1 or 2 independent hotels in Arequipa. This allows our client in his smartphone to book AccorHotel.com, and he doesn't need to go to an OTA or to another site. He will remain, keep his point, his profile, and do everything through our application.
So it's a very interesting solution. You talk about a global challenge. When I speak with hoteliers, it's how to selectively and effectively use online travel agencies. Gentlemen, I'll turn the conversation to you since we've kind of heard what Accor is doing to an extent. How are you dealing with that challenge? How are you driving more of your business direct, thus keeping more money in the pockets of your owners?
For us, a key differentiator is our SPG program, right? I mean, the loyalty program really works very well. We fill more than 50% of our daily occupancy in every hotel in the world with SPG members. And that's basically a significant driver of loyalty for us, and they have their own specific booking channel. And also, for owners, the use of our proprietary booking channels and distribution system is the most effective way, right? However, we understand that there are certain periods of the year and certain periods in certain markets that we need the online travel agencies as part of our mix. But in general, we believe that our booking engines provide a better solution, a more seamless booking experience, and a more branded experience overall for the clients.
Could you ever envision a scenario where you adopted the Accor model and opened up the distribution platform to independents?
Starwood was always a company first, right? I mean, we have been first in, launching SPG, which was a no blackouts date loyalty program. First with Heavenly Bed, first with the first reservation system, 1-800 number in the US with Sheraton. First in launching W, first in keyless. In this one, we don't want to be first. And Patrick took the lead, and we will see how it goes. But so far, we believe loyal to our structured booking patterns.
Laurent, what's your take on that?
It's similar to what Jorge said. I think
Thank you, guys.
we'll watch. We'll watch. It's great. I mean, it's always a fine line, right? I mean, we're a hotel management company. We want to control the experience. We want to control the product as much as possible. And then, when you move towards becoming an OTA, which is an important part of our business, clearly that's a big value that we bring, bringing direct channels. How far do you go, right? So that's the question. I think for us, we would probably be hesitant to doing that. But again, if it works, maybe we'll follow suit.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Jorge, when we were having a conversation last week or the week prior, and we were talking about some of the most significant challenges facing this part of the world, one you raised was finding and retaining skilled employees. Because at a fundamental level, you can't run a hotel without trained, qualified people to do that for you. So that's the question. How are you overcoming that challenge?
Yeah, one of the things that we did in the last few years, and that was basically because our workforce was morphing, was a new type of employee was coming into the workforce. The millennials were not only the customer, but also part of our workforce. So what we decided to do was revamp 100% our training platform. We basically get out of the classroom type of training, create an online experience for training from A to Z, where we create an online platform that provides self-paced online training for all of our associates. And also what we are doing is creating programs within each property of rotation, because we found that millennials and younger employees are more prone to be impatient, as the baby boomers were, and they want to have quicker and more experiences, and they want to become rounded quicker. So we rotate them into the different departments to provide an experience, and we believe that by doing that, we are creating a more loyal workforce that at the end of the road will provide a better service, which is always one of our signature elements of the Starwood experience.
I'll open this question up to all three of you. Is there anything you would be looking for more in the workforce? Maybe differences in university training to better prepare people to work within your hotels? If you could change one thing or look for something to help you in that regard, what would it be?
At least from our experience, from our operations team, it seems like the challenge is not so much the workforce. I mean, we're spending a lot of time, I have to say, and the team's doing a great job in growing, developing existing talent. Mobility seems to be one of the challenges. It is more difficult in this region to have somebody move from one place of the country to another. So there seems to be less mobility as they grow in the ranks.
So just less of a willingness to do that?
Or I mean, they're deeper family connections, family cords. It's sometimes more difficult to say, well, there's an opportunity for you to go to the other side of the country to become general manager. There's more resistance than there would be maybe in North America or in Europe, right? So mobility is one of the things. Equality, not so much. What we are, what the team's focusing on is localizing that talent, especially in view of the economic challenges that we're facing. We're really moving towards localizing the talent and growing local talent. In Brazil, I think we have 2,000 rooms, something like that. We have one expat. I mean, that 5-6 years ago was not the case. And we need to keep doing that. We need the local talent to grow to become managers and senior management within the company. That's what we're focusing on, yeah.
Patrick, anything to add?
For us, definitely, this is my main challenge today. Not the development, not the financing. I think the worst or the main challenge is recruiting, training, and maintain the people, even if the crisis helps, because you have the turnover, or what we call the rotation in our staff is reducing, but you cannot have expatriates in South America. It's too expensive. In Brazil today, to bring an American, North American, a European cost us 50% more than 6 months ago. So it's almost impossible. So what we decided, we developed local academies. So we have several academies. It's a worldwide decision we took about 25 years ago. So we have our own academy. So it's a university within Accor in São Paulo. We're doing online trainings and physical trainings in all South America. But we start from a hub in São Paulo where we bring most of the staff. Each of our employees has 2 trainings per year. And we have a team doing all the openings. As I told you, we're opening one hotel every 2 days, so we need a team to accompany all these openings. So it's local relevancy and local trainings with a formal academy.
All right, so gentlemen, I see we are quickly coming down with time, and we have a list of challenges that I think we could spend an hour and a half working through, if not more. I want to close this conversation by giving you each just 20 seconds to share a key takeaway from this conversation. If there was a challenge or something you wanted people to remember in the audience, what would it be? What's the one thing you want them to take away from this panel? Jorge, why don't we start with you?
Well, what I would say that, for us, macroeconomic challenges has not been something new. And going to what's key for success in the region, I would say that understanding the market where you operate is key. And for that, we have a significant number of local executives. We are Latin Americans running Latin America at Starwood. We always have been. So we try to create global executives by sending them to other parts of the globe, but then coming back and putting that expertise to work in the region. For us, having a good management team, not only at the property, regional, or divisional level, has been key and proven a recipe for success throughout the years.
Wonderful. Laurent?
I'd say we're clearly faced with an economic challenge at the moment, a downturn. We have seen these before. In our business model, we go through multiple economic cycles, so 3, 4 sometimes in the length of our agreements and our relationships. We're there with our owners and franchisees in the good times, and we're there in the challenging times, and we'll work with them in order to weather this as best as possible.
And Patrick, final word is yours.
My last point, I will say one thing. We have been fighting against each other for many years. And now we are not sufficiently aware about the giant we have in front of us, which is distribution, and we are trying to find a solution. We don't know if we have the right solution, but we are trying many things to work with these guys and against these guys at the same time. So let's wait and see.
We look forward to seeing how it all unfolds. Gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing your time today. We do appreciate it. Thank you.